church. Take one for episode 3. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back to our conversation about the challenges that we face in the immigrant church. And if we're talking about that, this is a really big issue, and that it's something that we want to deal with and we want to fight. Why is it, if it really is such a big issue, why is it that it goes unspoken so often and we don't talk about this?
Because we don't deal with our challenges courageously and clearly, and you put it on the table بوضوح and you talk about it. So as I mentioned before, we just close our eyes not to see it, hoping that the problem won't see us, because we don't see it. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about it, so we are silent about mm-hmm. you problem, you be silent about us problem. Mm-hmm. And this is just a time, and then it will explode. Or, as you mentioned before, it will be a silent, quiet exodus from the church.
And I honestly don't think that the adults or the first generation immigrants in our church, and really any immigrant church, are intentionally creating a gap.
Definitely.
I think this is something that we just, we're not noticing it, maybe because when we have this false idea that our church is still growing and our church is still good, which the pews are still filled, but the reason the pews are still filled is because there are more immigrants that are coming. And as long as the immigrants keep coming, the pews will stay filled. But because those pews are still filled, we don't realize that, they're actually only replacing the young adults who are leaving the church.
This is why my biggest fear is to be in a church outside of your country, to be just a one only solo single generation. It's only adults. It's not creating more generations. And I would like to hear from you about the models that you talk to our church about in this dilemma.
Okay, so there are a couple of major models that churches use. The first one would be what we would call the bilingual model. The bilingual model is everybody is in the same service, and there are two ways to do this. One, you can either have a live translation, so the pastor is speaking, and right next to him someone's translating live.
Sentence by sentence.
Sentence by sentence, or you can have the headphones. That's one model that's been used that, according to some research, has not been very effective. And we can get into more details about each of these in a little bit. That's the first model. The second model is what some may call the separate service model. And so the adults have a service, the youth have a service, and that has its benefits and it has its pros and cons. And again, we can talk about that more in details next time. And then the third model is what has been seen as almost a church plant or the church split model. Yeah. And this, in our experience, at least in some of the Arabic churches, we've seen this happen. And it's heartbreaking, because then the first generation sees it as, I can't believe they're tearing themselves away from our family and our people and our culture. And so there's this split that happens. But at the same time, too, because of the split, there's unmet needs now for the adults, for the first generation church, because, what about their kids? Who's taking care of their kids? Because it used to be the younger generation that takes care of them, but now because of the split, they have unmet needs. And similarly, the second generation church also has unmet needs. And we can go into so much more details about these issues, but those are some of the models that have happened. And then there's another model that some call the parallel church model, and that might be a model that we explore a little bit more, because it seems like it could be potentially a good fit for immigrant churches. So Thanks again for tuning into this conversation. We will get into more details about those specific models because it is really important to know what is out there so that we can learn for ourselves and know, okay, so what then are we going to do? Which model should we choose for our church? Thanks for tuning in. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Click the link below. Tell us what you think. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.